Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Oh man, you know the Biden administration is getting in some serious trouble with their messaging, if even the left-wing White House press correspondents are hammering them. And man, today was an incredibly embarrassing moment for Karine Jean-Pierre, and the rest of these White House goons, even Joe Biden who appeared remotely, every single one of them getting grilled about the definition of a recession, and while leftists do what leftists do, if the term don't fit, then redefine the term. Of course, we know when it comes to basic biology and the definition of a man and a woman doesn't exactly fit the left-wing narrative. And so what do leftists do? Well, they redefine the term entirely. We've seen them do this many times, and now, apparently, the Biden White House is trying to do that exact same thing, redefine what a technical recession means, as they continue to cope, continue to deny reality, because they know what we've known for a while, what I've been reporting on for a while. We already are in a recession. And the way they're acting right now in such denial, well, I'd say it probably confirms that they probably have the inside scoop that Thursday's GDP report isn't going to be so hot. And they're already preparing to shift their messaging and to flat out lie to try to save face as much as possible. Let's continue to analyze the absolutely abysmal messaging coming out of this White House. We got some stuff to get into, folks, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so take a look at the copium, and it's not even just copium, it's incoherent copium.
Next week's a very big week for the economy, so I read the CEA blog. Is the White House trying to change the common definition of a recession because next Thursday the GDP numbers coming out are going to show that we've been in a recession?
So let me say this, the strength of our labor market along with the other economic factors is what we generally see in a recession, or even what is not what we generally see in a recession or even a pre-recession, because we're seeing the strength of the economy and the labor market. So that's really important to note there because those are key elements as we talk about that, as folks keep asking us about that. So Americans across the country are back to work at a historic level.
The summation of what she said is something akin to this.
Have you ever had a dream that you could do so?
But this is actually the stance that they're taking. We know the technical definition of a recession, we know what it looks like. It's been declared in the exact same way for decades. But with the Biden administration, they're actually trying to play this angle. Take a look at this from Biden advisor Gene Sperling.
There's discussion over the weekend, Janet Yellen sort of saying, well, if you have 2 quarters of contracting GDP growth, not necessarily a recession. I covered the economy for many years. I was told by everybody I spoke to that 2 negative quarters, 2 contracting quarters, means that the economy is in a recession. Do you believe that? Is that what you ascribe to?
That is not the actual definition of a recession. It is a significant contractionary period over a few months.
They are actually denying the technical definition of a recession because they're hoping to avoid the inevitable, which is the Biden recession. Of course, they don't want that before the midterms, but they don't want that at all. And so instead of face reality, they're delusional and living on another planet. The Biden administration says, well, no, that's not really the definition of a recession. Really, 2 consecutive quarters of GDP contraction isn't the definition of a recession. Well then, where does this come from?
Thursday, that first reading of second quarter GDP, there's a possibility this is a negative number. 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth.
The definition of a recession is a decline in output for 2 consecutive quarters, or about 6 months.
A recession is just 2 consecutive quarters of economic decline.
When we talk about the possibility of a recession, what is a recession? A recession is 2 consecutive quarters.
2 consecutive quarters.
2 consecutive quarters.
2 consecutive quarters of declining GDP.
Because as you know, it's 2 consecutive quarters of down GDP.
That signals it is actually a definition of a recession.
I mean, the most common definition of a recession, 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth.
Even if we don't have 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth, we might have 1 quarter of growth so deep that it's classified as a recession.
Denial, denial, denial. And of course, it's all over the White House. Biden was questioned as well, and take a look what he said here.
And Mr. President, we're getting GDP numbers on Thursday. How worried should Americans be that we could be in a recession?
We're not going to be in a recession, in my view. The employment rate is still one of the lowest we've had in history. It's in the 3.6 area. We still find ourselves with people investing My hope is we go from this rapid growth to steady growth. And so we'll see some coming down. But I don't think we're going to, God willing, I don't think we're going to see a recession.
We're not going to be in a recession. They're saying this when most likely the data that they have access to behind the scenes is confirming a recession. Why else would they be trying to change the definition of a recession? It doesn't make any sense at all. Clearly, they're trying to get ahead of Thursday's report. And just take a look at how far they're going. This is an actual post from whitehouse.gov. What is a recession? While some maintain that 2 consecutive quarters of falling real GDP constitutes a recession, that is neither the official definition nor the way economists evaluate the state of the business cycle. Instead, both official determinations of recession and economists' assessment of economic activity are based on a holistic look at the data, including the labor market, consumer and business spending, industrial production, and incomes. Based on these data, it is unlikely that the decline in GDP in the first quarter of this year, even if followed by another GDP decline in the second quarter, indicates a recession. And now I'm going to put my money down that this statement right over here is going to age like old milk, especially because their defense isn't even really all that solid. They're claiming that the labor market, consumer markets, business spending, industrial production, and incomes are going to carry the economy through. But the labor market, from what we're seeing, is possibly taking a hit. The consumer is definitely not in good shape. Consumer confidence is at the lowest it's ever been. And we're possibly entering an earnings recession. We're going to have to see some of the financial statements that are released this week and just going forward, especially in the next quarter. Industrial production is down as well, and real incomes in relation to inflation are also down. The reality is, we're not going to see the true impacts of 2 quarters of negative GDP probably till the third quarter, or at least the winter, heading into 2023. Are we in a recession? Probably. Are they going to announce the recession right now? No, probably not. Probably in the winter. So I guess technically we're not in a real recession, but we pretty much are. These people are full of excuse my French, and everything they're claiming as indicating that the economy is incredibly strong is very, very misleading. In fact, everything about this administration is misleading. I want to say that Joe Biden's the one that's doing the misleading, but Joe Biden, of course, is just the puppet. I don't think any of this has anything to do with Biden. Not to give him an escape or an excuse or anything, but of course we know he's just an empty shell of his former self. The guy's not all there, and he's just a vessel for the real shadowy figures behind him actually running the show. And his Twitter feed is one of the biggest disasters ever. Take a look at some of these tweets. So out of touch, it's not even funny. Gas prices have declined by an average of 60 cents per gallon over the past 38 days. 5 straight weeks of gas prices coming down. He then updates that, or rather, his staffers update that. Make that 65 cents down over 40 days. Whoa, 65 cents from a high of $5 a gallon. The administration then releases this tweet, which is getting slammed on Twitter. For American families looking for a little bit more breathing room, get ready for this breathing room, folks. At current prices, the average driver will spend $35 less per month for one person. They couldn't even bother to spell check and write person. Or $70 less per month for a family with 2 cars than they would if gas prices stayed at their peak. I mean, is that some massive victory? Americans are still paying, based on economic data that we've covered, anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 more a year, not only on gas prices, but on everything, while making less money. And Joe Biden is taking a victory lap because you're spending $35 less a month. Based on the previous peak, what he's essentially saying is, well, at least things aren't bad as they were when they were worst case scenario a month ago. Not to mention, he's taking a victory lap for what? A slowing down economy? I mean, pretending as if gas prices are going down because of his actions is a complete farce. What's really happening is demand destruction. What's really happening is the economy is slowing down. People are just unable to afford moving around. People are taking their bikes. Manufacturing is down. Business is down. Just activity is down in general within the economy. Of course, the increase in interest rates from the Fed are having a big impact as well. And so demand for energy is down. Therefore, prices are going down. Name a single action that Joe Biden has taken that has actually reduced gas prices, other than the 2-cent price drop after releasing the strategic oil reserves. Well, I'll be waiting here all day because obviously he's done nothing. Everything that he has done has increased prices. And even his most recent Saudi Arabia debacle begging them to produce more oil, which failed and blew up in his face. Even when Joe Biden tries to do something like getting on his knees and begging the Saudis, it ends up resulting in gas prices increasing because of his humiliation on the foreign policy world stage. Out of this world, stupid and out of touch. It's just on another level. And the way these admin officials are just talking in circles right now. Actually, here's another one. Joe Biden's economic advisor, Brian Deese.
What will be comments from some saying 2 quarters of negative growth in a row, that's a recession.
Right, and certainly in terms of the technical definition, it's not a recession. The technical definition considers a much broader spectrum of data points.
The way they're just talking in circles and saying what you're seeing is not actually what you're seeing, and the real definition of a recession isn't actually the definition of a recession, shows you exactly how dishonest and untrustworthy these people really are. All we're seeing is a bunch of desperate, delusional political hacks. All we're seeing is hopium and copium. Biden earlier saying that his hope is that we go from this to rapid growth to steady growth. I mean, literal hopium. No facts, not the reality of what's going on, just hopium. The same thing on inflation. Well, we think probably inflation has peaked. Janet Yellen saying a recession isn't inevitable. It's nothing but hopium, copium, lies, and desperate, out-of-touch elitist weirdos who are clearly panicking as everything around them falls apart and they're somehow trying to shift or change the messaging. Game over, Biden. Your days are numbered. That, however, is what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to leave a like. I'm going to get back to work. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.